Hello everyone, this is Almo. You guys know me by the Discord handle Megaman on the main CV Discord. I thought about making a video explaining how CP and SP points work and how to make a proper team format to the best of your ability. Um, this information is honestly not readily available unless you know people that you can talk to. And there are many people that are very helpful to get you through, but it's just this information is not something that you really can get without asking. So hopefully this video will kind of explain my thought process when I try to make a team. And by no means that I am an expert, I'm not, but I am somebody that really like to make comps and calculate them. And I think it's really an enjoyable part of Crossing Void that most people don't know about. Because when you make a comp and that comp actually works, you can really see that you have optimized your team to do the maximum damage that you can. This video basically really gonna go about one specific comp that I spent about 4 or 5 hours working on overnight, and this comp is not the best, and it turned out to be actually not that great. But that's fine because that's how people learn, and that's how you can make a better comp next time. This is actually something I can potentially still test in DD. Um, so, um, just a disclaimer: these units are really expensive, and the idea is not about showcasing, a whale account. The idea is about showcasing what you can do, and that you can take your comp with the units that you have, and you create a table, you create a team that can does the most damage. So don't just get turned off by seeing all these high awakening units. It really doesn't matter. Well, it does matter for damage, but it doesn't matter for the purpose of making a good team comp. So the team comp that I built overnight with help of Raven, I will link his name in the description, is this team comp. So it uses an A5 Alex. I think A3 also works. I don't think it actually affects the stacks or how Alex gains stacks. It's using also Awakening number 3 support Alex, and it's using Kiyohime with her Elementium. And I actually don't have it, but someone else tested it for me. And the main thing is really for this comp specifically is actually not worth it to upgrade her and use souls because that's what you need. But it's really still kind of showcase what you can do. And this comp, if you have it, still works. And it also features Kamineko. This unit is really also what makes this comp works. You do need to have at least A3 Kamineko. And again, if you don't have these units or you don't have the exact awakening, you don't have to really roll them. Well, if you can, yes, but you can make a comp with what you have, and that's the purpose of this video, is making comp that does the best damage to the best of your ability. Alright, so I'm gonna switch here to Notepad. Let's see if I can do that here quickly. Looks like I have Discord open, so I'm gonna minimize that. Alright, so this is just a few notes that I made for myself, and this is something that's really important because this will, if you understand how the unit work, you can make the table, and that's kind of the first part, is really understanding how these units work. So, Kamineko at Awakening 3. Basically, she does two things. She will give you passively one climax point every turn at the start of each turn. So you gain one at the start of each turn. And also, this is kind of hard to explain, but at the start of each turn, before any character is allowed to move. And this is, I think, a keyword that if you don't understand, it might make this call confusing. If you are at round 1, before anybody is allowed to move, you have a 0 skill point. But for example, if you are at round 2, you're probably carrying over some skill points from round 1, right? And the calculation takes into effect before anybody is allowed to move at round 2. And that's what Kamineko looks at. What is the CP, or I'm sorry, the SP skill points count is before anybody is allowed to move at the start of that turn. If you miss to understand this concept, it will be really difficult. I think this would help me understand how Kamineko works. So at the start of each turn, before any character is allowed to move, you gain 1 skill point if your current count of skill points is less or equal to 3. And we'll take a look at that in the spreadsheet. So this is just to understand how Kamineko works. This is Awakening number 3. Now we have Alice. Alice got a huge buff with her Elementium, and it's really OP. I think Alice set a new record for breaking the game, and I personally don't mind it because I like her. But the devs have been really setting up the bar quite high in terms of what breaks the game. And we have had a lot of units that actually break the game. But let's just go and speak about Alex and what she does. So this assumes that you have her Awakening number 5. I think, as I said, Awakening number 3 probably functions the same. You need to check that. And this assumes that you also have her Elementium maxed out. Feel free to read the Elementium and her skills in the game. But this is basically how I summarize them for myself, so I can know how to work with her. So at the start, let's read it here. Alice passively reduces her climax points by 1 when she enters the fight. So the base value for her climax point is 16. But with her Elementium, the base value is reduced by 1. So it goes from 16 to 15. Also, Alice gains 1 Osmanthus stack on round 1 only. So she gains a stack of her special talent, and this is only on round 1. And if you read what this talent does, it basically gives her damage. It also reduces the cost of her climax points by 1. So each stack will reduce the cost by 1. This effect only happens at round 1. She gained 1 of her talent stack at round 1 only. And this talent, and by definition, her talent stack reduces her climax point by 1. So what does that mean for you? Because the base value is 15 and she gained 1 stack, and this 1 stack reduces reduces her climax point by 1. That means the new base value at round 1 is actually 14. This is actually not really explained well in the game, in my opinion, like these 2 points. So it just got me a bit to get used to. And now here is a third point, which was really hard because the game doesn't explain it well as well. It's Alex gains 1 climax points per turn starting at turn 2. So it doesn't matter what she do, she will always gain 1 climax point at turn 2, starting at turn 2. So just keep that in mind. And also from her, I think this is either Awakening or Special Talent, I'm not entirely sure. But she also gained 1 climax point every 4 turns. And this takes into effect when she enters the battle at turn 1. And then after 4 turns, at turn 5, she gained another 1. So also from her Elementium, Alice gains 3 stacks of her talent passive each time she uses her climax. So each time you use your climax, you gain 3 stacks of Osmanthus, and these stacks, each one of them will reduce the climax points by 1. So we know that the base value is 15. So 15 minus 3 after she uses her climax. So 12. And this is why she can now spam her climax, because basically the base value after she uses her first climax is going to be 12 moving forward. The last one is support Alice. Actually, not the last one, but support Alice. So this one at Awakening 3, this one is really going to depend also on your Awakening level. If you have less than Awakening 3, you need to do the math for that. But at Awakening number 3, at the start of each turn, she gains 1 stack of Fragrant Osmanthus, which lowers the skill point of the system summon skill by 1 SP. And this effect can stack up to 2 times. So if you don't use this skill for 2 turns, the SP cost of that skill will be reduced by 2. If you use it every turn, it will be reduced by 1. The base value of this skill is 6. So at Awakening number 3, if you use it every turn, it's 5. If you, let's say, don't use it for 2 turns, it will be 4. Because this passive that reduces the skill point stacks up to 2 times. And the last one, which what makes this comp works, is the KYH Main Elementium. I don't have it as I showed you in the video, but basically what this does, it reduces the cost of the first climax of each unit on the field, including KYH herself, by 2 skill climax points. I realize this is a lot of information. This is why you can basically pause the screen, read this for yourself, and understand how these units work. What I'm going to do next is kind of show you the table that I use. So this is an example table that I have been working on overnight. This is basically the template that I have here. Let's see if I can show you something without any math in it yet. Let's see. Alright, looks like all of these have math on them, which is fine. I'll just clear it. So this is the template I use, and this is what makes sense for me. Your mileage will vary, so just use what basically works for you. Gonna clear all of that so you can use this. Alright, so the team I was working on, and I'm gonna switch screen here. This is the team. You can pause the screen. One thing you need to know is how speed work. Basically, the higher the speed, the faster that team will move. So I know that KYH will be moving first, then Alice will be second, and then Kamineko will be last. One thing also you need to know is the bot speed. In this case, I asked around and they told me it's 1252. So I know all the bots will actually move before any of my unit moves. And that's really important to know and important to take note of. So if we go back, so my units are KYH Main with Shiro or Alice, support Alice. I know this is the first pair because that's the pair that's going to move first. Then we have Alice and Zero, the second pair that's going to move. And then we have Kami, Arishan, and that's the last pair that's going to move. In terms of weapon, don't worry too much about weapons assignment yet. Sometimes you have to enter the game to see how fast you get skill points on these weapons. There's probably an easier way to find out. I'm not really comfortable without actually getting into the game and see how fast I get these weapons. So, and as you can see, I have 5 tabs of these spreadsheets. So it took me a couple of tries to actually land a comp that I feel that is worth doing. So don't expect yourself to be able to do this from the first try. And the idea is basically start from something. I also want to mention something. Spreadsheet is a way to organize your work, make your comp more efficient. Sometimes if you just focus on spreadsheets, you will lose the creativity part. And by that I mean sometimes you really just want to pick a team, enter into a match, and see how that team work without having to rely on spreadsheet. Because sometimes that will give you other options that you may not think of if you have a spreadsheet open. But again, spreadsheet is a way to organize yourself to make sure that your math is correct, you're calculating everything correctly. All right, so I lay out my units. So I'm gonna imagine I'm in the game, and what is my starting climax points, what is my starting CP. And this is where I use my notes. So I typically will have this open, and I, like on my other monitor, I'll read it. So I know Kamineko will give me at least one climax points at the start of each turn. And I know Kamineko also looks at the start of each turn, and if I have 3 or less skill points, she'll give me 1. So at the start of this turn, I don't have any skill points, so I know I'm gonna get at least 1 from Kamineko. But I'm not done. I know that she also gives 1 skill point, or I'm sorry, climax point, so I'm gonna put 1 here. Okay, and then I need to take a look at Alice's passive, because basically Alice, one of Alice's passive is will give you 1 climax point every 4 turns, which is number 4 over here. So I know that this takes into effect in turn 1 and turn 5. So at turn 1, Alex will give me 1 skill point or climax point. So I know this number is actually 2. So that's how you can start with. And I actually should write these numbers at round 1. So at round 1, before the round actually starts, I will have 2 climax points, 1 from Alice, 1 from Kamineko, and 1 skill point from Kamineko. Now, I mentioned that the bot speed is 152. That means the bots move faster than all of your units. And in this specific match, we have 3 bots. So each unit that moves, regardless if that unit is an enemy or a friendly unit, that unit will give you 1 skill point. So we have 3 bot units or 3 bot pair units that moved before my KYH moved. That means these will give me 3 skill points. So that means 3 plus 1, that means 4. Now my turn is, and KYH is gonna move, so she gain 1 skill point. That means I will have 5 skill points. I haven't used any climax points, so this will be 2. And this is why it's really important to kind of have a table that help you navigate through the math, because this will kind of keep you on a track at each round or each move that your team does. So in here, basically you need to decide what skill you want to use. Typically, I mean, if you use anything, so with Kamineko comp, you want to use Kamineko, and I didn't put that in note, I should, but Kamineko skill number 2 basically debuff the enemy, and any damage that you do to them will be stored, and then you can unleash that damage with her climax right later on. So if I use anything else in here, I'm not gonna have enough skill points, so that's why I'm gonna use skill 1, and I know skill 1 is gonna cost 0 for KYH, so I'm gonna put this here. And let's see. Alright, so now Alice will move. So I didn't use any skill points, so my climax points will stay the same. So that's 2. Now I didn't use any skill point as well here. So when Alice moves, she will gain 1. So this number from 5 will be 6. And now you know decide what you can use with Alice. If you use Alice as 2, which is her shield skill, and there's a lot of information. Like I didn't include everything in here because I assume most of you will know this information. But if you use Alice shield, then you reduce the she gains 2 stacks of her passive or her talent. That means you reduce the cost of her climax by 2. And this is information you need to keep track of. But this skill costs 0. And now Kamineko turn. So at Kamineko turn, at the start, I haven't used any skill points, so I'm gonna have 2 climax points. And I haven't used any skill points, so this is going to be from 6. When Kamineko moves, going to be 7. And then in here, we need to use Kamineko skill number 2, because that's skill that stores damage, and then you can unleash that with your with her climax. So this will cost me 4 skill points. So the LO stands for leftover skill points. So I used 4. The leftover is 3. So I'm gonna put 3. This column, you don't really need it. I just like to have it. So how much skill points did I use? I used only 4. And you can see here from the cost column, I used only 4. So I'm gonna put number 4 here. And how much climax points? So each SP point that you use will be converted to a climax points. So I use 4 skill points. These will be converted to climax points. That means this will be 6. Alright, so in here is good to note that looking at our notes here, we know that the base value at turn 1 for Alice climax will be 15, but she also gains 1 stack of her passive, and each stack reduces the climax points by 1. So the climax cost is actually 14. And we used her skill 2, which gives her 2 stacks of her passive. So we know the climax points is now 12, or cost 12. Okay. Now this is what you are done with, what you're left off with round 1. Now round 2 starts. We know that Alice will passively gain 1 skill point. I'm sorry, 1 climax points. And also Kamineko will give us 1 climax point as well. So that means this number by design, by default, will be 8. So at round 2, I will have 8 climax points. And again, this is looking at my notes. And here we can see Alice gain 1 stack of her passive, and actually, I'm sorry, it's number 3. Alice gains 1 climax points per turn, starting on turn 2. And also, Kamineko provides 1 climax points starting off at the start of each turn. So this is why this number jumped from 6 to 8. And now we look at the skill points, and this is where it really matters. So before anybody is allowed to move, Kamineko is going to look at this number. This is whatever you left off from round 1. And if this number is 3 or less, you gain 1 skill point per her passive. So we're using this basically. So this will give you an extra skill point. So from Kamineko, so this will be 4. And now round 2, we know that the bot will actually move before you, and the bot will give you 3 skill points. So that means 4 plus 3 is 7. When Kamineko turn, or I'm sorry, KYH turn is, we'll get 1 skill point. So that means you actually start with 8 skill points. And we haven't used any climax points, so this number will stay the same. Alright, so in here we need to boost with Shiro. So I'm gonna use Shiro as 2. And here's why I made this note again. So Shiro, at the start of each turn, gain 1 stack of Fragrant Ozymanthus, which lowers the skill point of System Summon Ozymanthus by 1. This can stack 2 times. We did not use this skill in round 1. And so the base value of that skill went from 6 to 5. And at round 2, she gained another stack, and because this effect stacks up to 2 times, so that means the skill point is now actually 4. So we use 4 skill points. These skill points that will be converted to climax points. So 8 plus 4 is 12. And we have 4 points left over here. So when L starts, this will be basically 5 skill points left. So there you go. So we got 12 climax points. We got 5 skill points. And now what do we do with Alice? This is kind of the part where you have to really go by trial and error. And this is why I have so many tabs in here, like 5 tabs. because every time I was trying to figure out what's the best comp, what's the best outcome, you will see that sometimes you'll actually run into that comp. And that's fine. That means you just need to do things differently. So if, let's say, like for example, I built this comp, everything was working fine, but at the end I ended up with 6 climax points, so I couldn't really use Kamineko climax. So I know whatever I did here is actually not gonna work. I'm gonna bit cheat from here because I know this comp works. So again, with trials and errors, I arrived to the conclusion that I should probably start using climax at turn 2. And again, this really works for this set of units, right? This you can just do this for every team. So we know that Alice climax is now 12 skill points. However, we need to remember that Kiyohime, if you have Kiyohime passive, that means she gains she makes the first climax points cost reduced by 2. So that's why Alex climax in here, if we use it, is actually not going to cost 12, it's going to cost 10. So that's going to be 10 climax points. So when you use that, that means we have 12 climax points. That means I'm going to have only 2 left. And here's another thing that, I didn't touch in my notes, but I expect you guys to know it. I have max awakening Ouroboros, and basically she gives you 2 skill points every time you use a climax that costs 8 or more. So in here I didn't use any skill points. I use a climax that cost 8 or more. That means I gain 2 skill points from this passive, and you can see I've highlighted by red. So that means this will become 7 skill points, but when Kamineko moves, this actually becomes 8 because she gains 1. And in here I'm gonna use defense down. So I'm gonna use defense down, and this is gonna be this is gonna cost me 4. And in here, so I use 4 skill points, and I had 2 climax points. These will be converted, so that means this round will end with 6 climax points. And that means I have 4 leftover skill points. And if I look at the cost of this turn, I see that I actually used 8 skill points. So everything matches out and everything looks fine. Alright, so we're gonna start the next turn. We know that Alex and Kamineko each will give me 1 climax point, so this number will be actually 8. And Kamineko is gonna look at this number, we explained it. So this number is actually 4, which is larger than 3. So we're not gonna gain any skill points from Kamineko. So this will be still 4. And we do this the same. So we start round at Kiyohime with 8 skill points or climax points. We know that the bots move before us, so 4 plus 3, because there are 3 bots, we get 7. When Kiyohime moves, we get 1, so that's 8. And then here you wanna use, again, sheer boost. Now it's gonna cost 5, because we already used the 2 stacks, and we only have 1 stack this turn, so that's gonna be 5. So this means I have, this 5 skill points will be converted to climax points, so this means I have 13 climax points. And in skill points, 8 minus 5 is 3. Then here I gain 1, so that's 4. And in here I want to use Alex climax, and this will cost 12 CP. Again, the base value for Alex climax is now 15 skill points, but anytime she ults, she gains 3 stacks for passive, which reduces the climax points by 3. So that means you get 12 skill points, or 12 climax cost. So when I use 12 climax cost, this number will be only 1. Ouroboros effect will be kicked in here, so it will give me 2 skill points. So 4 plus 2 is 6. When Kamineko moves, you give me 1, so that's 7. And here I'm gonna use skill 4, which costs 4. So 4 plus 1, we got Okay, I'm sorry. The leftover is 3 skill points. 7 minus 4 is 3. And I have used 9 skill points. So I'm gonna put 9 here. And my CP is 4 plus 1, which is 5. Alright, so now Kamineko is gonna move. Kamineko and Al is gonna give me 2 climax points, so this number will be actually 7. And because this number is less or equal to 3, that means I gain 1 skill point from Kamineko, so this will be 4. And again, at the start I get 7. I got 3 bots move before me, so 4 plus 3 is 7. Kahimi moves, she gains 1, so that's 8. And we're gonna use S2 here again. So that's gonna be 5 skill points. So 5 plus 7, that's 12. Then in here we also get 4 skill points. And we're gonna use climax. And this will be 12 CP. That means we actually have 0 here. And 4 plus 2 from Ouroboros. Plus 1 when Kamineko moves. That means I get 7. And in here, we'll need to use S2, which will also cost 4. I realize I'm not going really in depth on everything, and if I did, this will be probably a very, very long video. Give me feedback and how you guys would like to go about this. Maybe I should break it down further. And maybe nobody cares about this content. Maybe it's just me that cares about this. So we'll see how this video does. So in here, I use 4 skill points. Will be converted to climax points, so I will have 4. And leftover skill points, I have 7 minus 4, which is 3. And I have used 9 skill points. Should probably be consistent in the way I actually put them on the line. There you go. Alright, now turn 5. And this is where I go back to my note. We know that Alex will actually get an extra climax points at turn 5 from her passive. And she also gave me 1 extra each turn. So that means I get 2, then 1 from Kamineko. So this number is actually 7. And this might be really hard to understand. But again, Alex at turn 5, she gains 1 climax points. She also passively gains 1 climax points starting at turn 2. And then 1 climax points from Kamineko. So that's how this is 7. Now Kamineko is going to look at this number as 3, so she's going to give you 1 skill point. And we do the same process. So we have 7, 4 plus 3 from the bot, that's 7, plus 1 from Kahimi, that's 8. Now we're going to do the same thing. S2 is going to be 5. And these numbers will be exactly the same because the math is exactly the same. So 4, 4. And we get 0 here. And we get 7. And here we use actually S4. I really want to explain this, but again, if you think I'm skipping a lot of information or if I'm putting too much info into one video, let me know. I can break it down. And here will be 3. Again, this round is exactly the same as the previous one, so that's why I'm not doing the math again. Right. So at the start of this turn, I only have 4 climax points. I gain 2 passively. That means I actually have 6. My skill points is 3, so Kamineko will give me 1, which is 4. So this means I have 6 climax. I have 8 skill points. This is where I had to make a decision because if I continue with the math, I will actually have 11 climax points. So if we use Alex 5 plus 6 is 11, so it's not enough to do a climax. So what do we do in this case? There are multiple options. And again, this comm also takes into effect like your gear, because your gear will give you also bonus attack. So in this case, I think what's best to use is it's possible to use, well, the only option you have is really to skip Alice in this turn. So you can use S1, which is going to go 0 skill point. You skip Kihimi, I'm sorry. But for example, you can have a different support in here if the speed matches. So for example, you can have Yugo, and he can actually potentially give you more damage in here with his defense down skill if you have him built and he is strong. But I don't, so I can't really use him. So the best outcome for me is to not use any skill points here. So I'm gonna use skill 1 for Yukihime, which costs me 0. My climax point gonna be 6. Now I'm gonna have 8 skill points plus 1 from here, that's 9. And Alex, I'm gonna use S4 from the skill point from 0. So I'm gonna use 0's seal skill, which is not optimal, but again, this kind of work. And again, this guy might not be the best one, but I mean, it works. You get a lot of damage in this comp. So this will cost me 5 skill points. So 5 plus 6, that's 11 CP that I'm gonna get. Then 9 minus 5 is 4, but you actually get 1 at Kamineko, so that means you have 5. And he used Kamineko. Use defense down here. So you get what? This gonna cost 4. So leftover SP is 1. And 4 plus 11, that's mean 15 climax points. And I use 9 SP. So for example, if we use a Yogo here, like I know the speed matches because I tested it, you can actually use his defense down skill if you have him built. I don't. So in here you can actually use this skill, and then this will give you enough climax points to climax with Alex and Kamineko. But it's not worth it for me because his talent are not that high when you compare them to someone like Zero. So if I look at my Zero, I have her pretty high talent where it matters. And also she has a very strong psych that he doesn't have. So in this case, I'm going to lose damage overall. So it's not worth it. But this is kind of one of the things he can do. Maybe if he is built, maybe the math will play out just right. So in here, turn 7. So we got 15 climax points. We're going to gain 2, so that's going to be 17. We only have 1, so Kamineko is going to be kind and give us 1, so that's 2. 2 plus 3 from the bot, that's 5. Plus 1 from Kihimi, that's 6. And we have 17 climax points. Now we use Shiro or Alice S2 because we didn't use it this turn, and she gained 2 stack. That means this will cost 4. So that means we have 20, and you can only have 20 climax points. I'd like to put 21 in here just to remind myself I lost 1 climax points. And 6 minus 4 is 2 plus 1 because this one is going to move. That's 3. That means Alex climax will be 12 CP. So 12 CP, that means we got 8 left. I don't need CP, I'm just going to be 8. And then 3 Ouroboros is going to give us 2, there's 5. Kamineko is going to move, that means we have 6 skill points. And here's you need to remember that KYH Main, Elementium passive, make the first climax of each unit cost 2 less. By design, Kamineko climax is 10, but because of KYH passive, that means it's going to be 8. And you can see how nice this plays, right? So that means you can do a lot of damage here. But that means you got 0 CP left, and you can have 6 skill points left that you did not use. And we only use 4. So this comp, I'm not sure if it's I mean, This comp took me probably 5 hours to make, and as you can see, there are a lot of irritations because each time I run into an obstacle, and like for example in here, it didn't make sense because I couldn't climax. So it's gonna take you a few tries sometimes to get to the right comp, but when you do, it's gonna feel really good. And this table really helps you figure out where you're at, what you need to use, what's missing. So I really highly advise you make it. Again, the purpose of this video was just because this information I don't think is readily available. And unless you know somebody that is really good at explaining stuff like Raven, Key from the main Red Discord, and Anna, people like Orku, people like that actually can help you, it's really hard. So hopefully by showing you how to build a table, how to calculate, passives and special talents for units, you can make this yourself. I'm really looking for feedback in the comment section for this one, if this content is something that people actually want. This is really something that I struggled to find. It took me months to actually find someone to explain to me this and help me build this table. So I can build the comp myself without having to just, copy someone else's comp. And, by the end of the day, you're going to work with people. You can optimize your comp. All of you can use the same comp if you have the same unit. And that's fine. But it's really nice to be able to be part of that process to build this comp. Again, please looking for feedback. I do realize this video has a ton of information, and I do realize that I made the assumption that you guys know a lot of this information already. So if it helps me to break it down next time, let me know how you like it to be broken down. Or maybe this is a complete waste of time and I just did it for myself. So let me know how it goes. I really appreciate it, and hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it's really a helpful tool for people to learn. Thank you so much.